All right, well, hello everyone and happy Friday. It's digital host A.J. Wuest here, welcoming you back to Before the Four. Of course, the live stream where I go through some of 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast. I hope you're all having a happy Friday so far, wherever you're watching Before the Four this afternoon, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream. As always, thank you so much for watching and spending just a bit of your Friday afternoon here. Now let's begin in a bit of national news as the suspect of the Charlie Kirk shooting Wednesday at Utah Valley University has now been caught and arrested. Now, who you're seeing on screen here is 22-year-old Tyler Robinson of Utah. He was identified as the man who allegedly shot Kirk. Utah Governor Spencer Cox said in a news conference shortly after the arrest, quote, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him," unquote. Robinson is believed to have acted alone, but the investigation remains ongoing. He was arrested on suspicion of capital murder, weapons, and obstruction offenses. Robinson's arrest late last night capped a hectic day, and a half search that stemmed hours earlier seemed stuck when authorities pleaded for tips and leads from the public. Now, eventually, it is believed that authorities were tipped off by the father of Robinson's. And of course, we'll have the latest on this situation coming up in our evening newscasts, so make sure to stick around. But now, yesterday, a prayer vigil was held on the campus of UAH to remember Charlie Kirk. The local chapter of Turning Point USA, an organization founded by Kirk, gathered yesterday to remember him. 48's Noah Cowell with the details of yesterday's vigil.
Dozens of UAH students and others from different schools and local groups all came together this afternoon and prayed through the pouring rain. Their main focus was on praying for everyone involved and for this political violence to come to an end. The UAH branch of Turning Point USA organized today's prayer vigil. Turning Point USA is an organization that Kirk co-founded. Prayers focused on the well-being of Kirk's wife and 2 young kids, and for the freedom of speech, something visitors from Republican groups say Kirk advocated for.
We had prayers for return to civil discourse in America. We had prayers for the continuation of the work and the great effort that Charlie has put in. We also had, an opportunity to kind of get together and just share a little bit about what he actually meant to us as far as being the voice of a young generation of conservatives and civil leaders.
Students from UAH and nearby universities expressed the impact they say Kirk had on millions of people. But more than anything, they say this was about a tragic loss, regardless of what political views you may have.
If we disagree on something, that's okay. We can let truth win out the day, and whatever is right will come out. But it doesn't mean we start attacking each other and hurt each other. That's where it gets wrong.
No matter what political stance you have about this, whatever you may feel about this, first and foremost, just let people grieve. This is a tragic loss of life.
The FBI is currently offering a $100,000 reward for anyone who can offer any information that will lead to the arrest of the man who suspectedly killed Kirk. Now, I talked to a former FBI agent, Cecil Moses, today, and he says that the suspect did leave quite a trail, and he expects him to be found within the coming days. Reporting in Huntsville, Noah Cowell, 48 News, on your side.
And of course, that package was filmed yesterday. The suspect, as I mentioned earlier, has now been arrested out in Utah. Tyler Robinson, if you're just now joining in. But now we're going to move out to Lauderdale County, where earlier today, a man accused of fatally shooting his wife last year pled guilty. Now, William Chapin was charged with murder after his wife, Deborah Chapin, was found dead inside their home in March of 2024. He's been in jail after being denied bond last April. At his Anaya's Law hearing last year, a deputy said both of Chapin's hands tested positive for gunshot residue. Deborah was planning to leave William when the murder happened, a deputy said. Deborah Chapin was a teacher at Underwood Elementary School. William is now facing 30 years in prison, once sentenced in October. But now, moving over to a story in case you missed it. At last night's Huntsville City Council meeting, the City Council was met with protesters both outside and inside City Hall. The protesters with one goal in mind: to ask city leaders to not cooperate with ICE agents moving forward. 48's Nick Ballinger was there and has more.
Say it once and say it twice. We will not put up with hate.
The sounds and signs from protesters outside City Hall Thursday came with one objective.
Indivisible is deeply disturbed about what's been happening to the immigrant community in Huntsville.
Susan Stewart with Indivisible 5th District says their goal is to make sure Huntsville police officers don't cooperate with ICE agents.
That one, the City of Huntsville shall not enter into any contract, agreement, or arrangement, such as 287G program, that would grant federal civil immigration enforcement authority to its law enforcement officers.
Huntsville is not a part of the 287G program, allowing local law enforcement officers to act alongside ICE agents. But the same can't be said for 15 agencies across the state, including the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, where ICE agents confirmed 24 individuals were detained outside the Pilgrim's Pride plant over the past 2 days.
Or even people that are documented are afraid to contact the police. When the immigrant community has trust with the local police department, crime goes down.
The applause following dozens of statements from protesters created tension in the chambers.
But I call a point of order on all the applause. I think it's inappropriate. We're here to get business done and not to be, a pep rally for folk.
You've called a point of order, and the chair does not agree with that point of order.
City Administrator John Hamilton says while there is no current agreement with ICE as of now, agents are and will continue to operate in the Rocket City.
There's certainly not anything that you or HPD or the mayor or myself or anybody else can do to stop ICE or any other federal agency from doing operations that they've been directed to do.
But now let's see what we can expect with the weather as we head into the weekend. 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis lets us know. Brad?
We're headed to the evening hours. Beautiful weather out there, dry weather. The drought monitor, not as bad as I thought it would be, but it will be worse next week because we probably won't see any rain until next Thursday at the earliest. High school football tonight, looking good. The radar is clear. And no need to check this during the ball game tonight. It's not going to change. We don't have any rain in the forecast. Beautiful weather out in the Shoals, too. It's 90 there. It's going to be a warm start to your evening plans. Current temperatures upper 80s to near 90 in all locations. And we don't expect a real rapid cool down this evening. Here's your grilling forecast. Still in the 80s through about 7:30, 76 by 8 o'clock. So starting to cool down. Overall, some real nice evenings. The morning hours look great, too. Here is your forecast for the next 3 days. Highs remain in the low 90s. Low temperatures remain in the low 60s. We'll talk about rain chances late next week on that 10-day forecast coming up at 4, 5, and 6.
All right, Brad, good to know. And also, don't forget First Alert Weather Extra. I say it every day. It goes on right here wherever you're watching Before the 4 this afternoon. Tonight at 9:30, First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis will have all the latest that he is seeing on the radar. You're just not going to want to miss it. But now we're going to head to break, but coming up, hearing from the man who was bitten by a venomous snake while hiking last week in the Sipsey Wilderness. And of course, we got to talk about some high school football. It's all ahead. I'll be right back in 1 minute. All right, we are back in business. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Before the Four. Now, yesterday, I got the chance to speak with the man who was rescued from Bankhead National Forest last week after a venomous snake bit him on his left calf. On Thursday, September 4th, Tyler Roach was bitten by a copperhead while hiking with his father near the big tree in Bankhead National Forest out in Lawrence County. After an over 10-hour rescue effort from multiple different agencies, Tyler was flown to the hospital for treatment. Now take a listen to what he had to say.
He and I, that's kind of our bonding together. We went hiking from the time I was young up until today. Just something about being in nature and being in the woods. We got up that morning, met up, we both had our packs ready and drove up to Bankhead. Neither of us had ever done the big tree loop and had heard a lot about it, so we wanted to check it out. So we got up there and I guess about 10:30 started hiking, making our way out. And we're carrying along, everything was going well, just enjoying the scenery, being by the creek. Bankhead is absolutely beautiful. It's always a great time hiking up there. And as about 1 o'clock, we were walking along and he's trailing maybe 15 feet behind me. And all of a sudden, I thought that I'd just flipped some thorns in the back of my calf. Just like a quick little sting, and turned around and to see him backpedaling and a fairly large snake spinning its way off of my leg. Which is nothing you ever want to see. And the second he did it, I instantly knew. I said, okay, yeah, I just got bit. He looked at me in panic. I told him, I was like, I'd actually been bitten by a copperhead before in 2020. So I knew that it was serious, but to try not to panic and whatnot. So I just told him, hey, we have to, it's going to be okay, but we have to get out of here. And so we started making our way out of the woods and tried to take a path that by GPS would have been shorter than the way we came in, but we ended up getting turned around quite a bit. And as you go, like the venom, it doesn't really hurt at the beginning, but as it progresses in you, the pain starts. So we're traveling along and whatnot, and eventually, leg hurting leads to it really hurting. And eventually started vomiting. Tried to press on for a ways after that, and hit a point where it was just I was no longer able to walk, and it was pretty clear I wasn't going to be able to. Luckily, I was able to get out emergency SOS via satellite.
Gosh, he is certainly a trooper. There's no doubt about it. Literally my biggest fear of all time. And to be without cell service while it happened, I'd imagine that would be extremely terrifying. And yeah, it was a great conversation yesterday with Tyler. I will take his word for it. I do not know what it feels like to get bit by a snake, nor do I want to know what that feels like, because again, that is my biggest fear of all time. But it was awesome getting to speak with him on his absolutely terrifying experience. And you can watch that full interview with Tyler Roach right now on our website. Just go to WAFF.com. And if you'd like, feel free to donate to his GoFundMe, which assists with his medical expenses as well as day-to-day recovery. We all know medical bills are not cheap. And so every little bit counts, but it was an awesome chat yesterday with Tyler. Feel free to watch that full 48 Now interview right now on our website. But now you guys know what we're talking about now. Let's talk some high school football. Our 48 game of the week this week, the Battle of the Undefeated. That's West Morgan and Priceville. Should be a very exciting one tonight, and we'll have to see which team will improve to 4-0 and which will fall to 3-1. Also, don't forget tonight at 5:35, wherever you're watching Before the Four at the moment, our digital 48 Blitz tailgate tour show, where Carl Prather, Kaylee Tinglestad, and Peyton Walker will all be out there at Priceville High School, bringing you the pre-game happenings. And of course, that only kicks the ball off for the exciting football coverage we have planned for the rest of the night, as we have 48 Blitz in our 10 o'clock newscast, 48 Blitz OT here on digital after the 10, and we're also updating all the local scores as they come in tonight on our website. Just go to WAFF.com, you'll go to sports, and finally sports scores. But yes, gotta love some high school football now in week 3, and it's hard to believe it's already 4 weeks in. Of course, week 3 kind of means week 4, as there was a week 0. But now 4 weeks in the high school football season. So hard to believe. It feels like just yesterday we were gearing up for week 0. But now let's talk about the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. Of course, you know we have Kitchen Cops. Check out all the restaurants that scored well and maybe didn't score so well this week. Of course, speaking with Alabama officials on the recent string of police pursuits we've been seeing here across the Tennessee Valley. And finally, 21 new buses getting upgrades in one school system here in North Alabama. And these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. And it is 3:56, y'all. We have enough time for Facebook fun today. And our 48 Facebook question of the day, we try to ask a question every single day and gather all your responses so I can shout them out here on Before the Four. And our question today: what is the best part about fall, the autumn, here in North Alabama? And let's see what you all had to say. What is the best part about the fall? There's fall in Alabama. That is from Gina and Gary Harton. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't feel like it. It feels like we go straight from summer to the fall. Marie said cooler weather. October, I've said it many times, my favorite month of the season, of the entire year. I just love the season of October. I would describe October as the center of a crisp apple. I always use that to describe the month of October. But awesome stuff. Angela said football, cooler weather, bye-bye bugs. Tell me about it. Those bugs, there was one flying back here just a couple minutes ago, and they are a nuisance without a doubt. And let's see who else commented. Terrence said bugs starting to die off. Absolutely. Lisa Welch said muscadines. Gotta love those muscadines. I think I like the changing of the leaves and how pretty it is up here in North Alabama with all the mountains and the nature up here. And also I just like the fall season. I just really like around October, the sweater weather. I just like how it feels in the air. There's just something about heading into the fall that just is unique. And you don't really get to experience it very long before winter comes around. But y'all, that is it for today's Before the Four. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope you all have a great night. Enjoy tonight's evening newscast, and as always, thank you so much for watching. You all have a great night.